In today's lesson, we are going to learn about forces between charged objects and different ways to transfer charge between objects. As we learned last time, charges come in two types. We define these to be a positive and negative charge. Two objects with the same type of net charge will repel each other. Objects with the opposite type of charge will attract. But these forces occur at a distance. The force does get stronger when the charges are closer together. So one way to investigate charge is with a device called an electroscope. We're going to do a lab with an electroscope next week. If you bring a charged object near an electroscope, the charge will cause the leaves here in figure 7 down at the bottom there. They will get charged, they'll repel each other, and you'll see the leaves separate. We have a similar scope that we use in our lab. It has a needle up next to an arm. When it gets charged up, the needle repels from the arm and it starts to tilt. Now, one way to charge an electroscope is by what's called conduction. So if we look here on this figure 8, here's an example of conduction. We have a negatively charged rod. I'm going to bring it close to the electroscope. As it approaches, when we touch, negative charge transfers from the charged object to the electroscope. We now have negative charge on the scope, up on the knob at the top, down on the leaves in the bottom. All of these things charged will cause the leaves to repel each other and cause thus you'll see the presence of charge. Similarly, we can bring a positively charged object in. So if we start with something that is negatively charged and bring a positively charged object near it, you'll see that the leaves will get closer together. So this is how you can charge an object by conduction. And you make contact between the charged object and the other object. Another way to transfer charge between two objects is what's called induction. So in this case, we bring a charged object near the other object but do not touch it. So observe here in figure 10. We'll have an example of charging by induction. We start off, we have two metal spheres, two neutral spheres that are in contact with each other. What we do next is we bring a charged object nearby. We bring this negatively charged rod nearby. That is repelling electrons from the sphere on the left, pushing it toward the right. Now we have two charged objects. We have positive charge on the left, negative charge on the right. Even though we have not touched it with the negatively charged rod, now at this point, if we pull the two spheres apart from each other, you'll see that we have separated spheres. We have opposite charge on them. The sphere on the left is positive charge. The sphere on the right is negative charge. We can take the charged object away, and you'll observe that both these objects now are charged. So this is one way to do charging by induction. Another way you can do this is with a single object and a charged rod. We can charge by induction using a process that is called grounding. We'll show you how this happens in the next figure, in figure 11. So we start off with a neutral electroscope. All the charge is equally distributed on it. If we next bring a charged rod nearby, bring a negatively charged rod, we repel electrons from the knob on the top down to the leaves on the bottom. We can see how the leaves have spread apart. Now, next, if I were to touch the knob, the electrons are down on the bottom. They're going to move off onto my finger. The leaves will fall back down. We still have positive charge up on the knob because the negatively charged rod is still close by. Now, if I touch, then break contact, if I break the ground, that's a very important step. If we do that, we now have net positive charge on the electroscope. At this point, I now take the negatively charged rod away. The positive charge is going to redistribute. In reality, what happens, all the electrons move around. we will have net positive charge on the electroscope. The leaves will again spread apart. So when you do this method, the charge that is induced in the second object has the opposite charge from the charged object that you brought near it. That is charging by induction. So in today's lesson, we've learned how to transfer charge both by conduction and by induction. With this, you should be able to answer all the questions on the launch homework.